The massive stellar cartography chamber aboard Earth's Deep Space Monitor Station Delta 9 hummed with activity as Chief Scanner Sarah Chen stared at an anomalous reading that shouldn't exist. The holographic display before her showed a signal originating from within the Maelstrom, a region of space where matter itself seemed to break down under the influence of competing gravitational forces and deadly radiation storms. "Run the analysis again," she ordered the station's eye, though she'd already done so 14 times in the past hour. The results remained unchanged. A clear distress signal, using protocols that hadn't been seen in active use for over a millennium, was emanating from the heart of the most dangerous region of known space. The Maelstrom had claimed thousands of ships over the centuries. Even the most advanced alien civilizations avoided it, considering it a natural barrier between the spiral arms of the galaxy. The few probe missions that had ventured into its outer edges had been torn apart by forces that defied conventional physics. Sarah's fingers flew across the haptic interface as she compiled the data for an emergency transmission to Earth Fleet Command. As she worked, a gentle chime announced an incoming communication. The holographic form of Admiral Kenzo Yamamoto materialized in the chamber, his weathered features set in their usual stern expression. "Chief Chen, your preliminary report crossed my desk 5 minutes ago. Tell me you found something to indicate this is a false reading." "No, sir," Sarah replied, sending another data packet to his display. "The signal is genuine. What's more, I've managed to partially decode it. It's not just a general distress beacon. It's a message, repeating in cycles. The technology is ancient, but the linguistic patterns match the precursor archives we discovered in the Arcturus sector." The Admiral's hologram flickered as he processed this information. The precursors had been the first spacefaring race, vanishing without explanation 50,000 years ago. Their ruins and artifacts were treated with religious reverence by most alien species. Finding active precursor technology would be unprecedented. "How many ships are within response range?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The Maelstrom's location had kept most traffic away from this sector for millennia. "Just one." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "The UEA's Prometheus." Sarah felt her breath catch. The Prometheus was Earth's newest and most advanced rescue vessel, created specifically for missions other species deemed impossible. Its experimental hull could theoretically withstand forces that would tear conventional ships apart, though it had never been tested under conditions as extreme as the Maelstrom. "Captain Rivera and her crew are being notified now," Admiral Yamamoto continued. "The Galactic Council has already registered formal protests against any rescue attempt, citing the Dangerous Regions Treaty of 2789. With all due respect to the Council, sir, someone out there is still alive enough to maintain a distress signal. The Prometheus was built for exactly this kind of mission." "That's what I hoped you'd say." The Admiral's hologram smiled slightly. "Because I've already authorized the mission. Captain Rivera is requesting you join as technical advisor. The Prometheus launches in 6 hours. Sarah's heart raced as she began shutting down her station. Throughout human history, their species have been called reckless, primitive, even suicidal by the more advanced civilizations. But those same civilizations had never understood that humanity's greatest achievements had come from rushing in where others feared to tread. As she headed to her quarters to pack, Sarah thought about all the impossible rescues humanity had pulled off since reaching the stars. The Europa deep dive, the Venusian mining colony evacuation, the neutron star survey team recovery. Each time, alien observers had said it couldn't be done. Each time, humanity had proved them wrong. Now they faced their greatest challenge yet, a rescue mission into a region of space that violated the laws of physics as they understood them, to save beings who might have been trapped there for thousands of years. The rational response would be to mark the signal and move on, as the Galactic Council advised. But humanity had never been very good at walking away from a cry for help. 6 hours later, Sarah stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the massive vessel's systems come online. "Captain Maya Rivera, a veteran of dozens of impossible rescues, sat in the command chair coordinating final launch preparations. The crew, all volunteers from Earth's elite rescue services, moved with practiced efficiency at their stations. Through the main viewport, Sarah could see the diplomatic vessels of various alien species gathering to observe what they clearly expected to be a futile and tragic mission. Their concern was touching, but misplaced. They still didn't understand that humanity's primitive nature was their greatest strength. Where advanced civilizations saw impossible dangers, humans saw challenges to overcome. Where others heard hopeless cries for help, humans heard calls to action. And where the galaxy's eldest races chose to respectfully maintain their distance from the mysteries of the Maelstrom, humanity was about to do what they did best: rush in, find a way, and bring everyone home alive. "All systems go," announced Lieutenant James Chen, no relation to Sarah, from the engineering station. "Hull integrity at maximum. Quantum stabilizers online. We are ready for launch." Captain Rivera's voice was calm and clear as she gave the order that would begin one of the most ambitious rescue missions in human history. "Take us in." The Prometheus's engines flared to life, pushing against the darkness of space. Ahead of them, the swirling energies of the Maelstrom beckoned, beautiful and deadly. Sarah felt the familiar mix of fear and excitement that preceded every rescue mission. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, dangerous, and possibly fatal. In other words, it was just another day for Earth's rescue services. The Prometheus shuddered as another gravitational wave slammed into its reinforced hull. On the bridge, status displays flickered with amber warnings as the ship's quantum stabilizers fought to maintain structural integrity. They had been traveling through the outer edges of the Maelstrom for 6 hours, and already the conditions were worse than their most pessimistic projections. Hull stress at 78% of maximum tolerance, Lieutenant Chen reported from engineering, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "The metamaterials are adapting, but these gravitational shears are like nothing we've seen in simulations." Captain Rivera nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the main viewport, where space itself seemed to twist and distort. "Sarah, how's our signal tracking?" Sarah Chen's fingers danced across her console, adjusting the quantum resonance scanners. "Signal's getting stronger, but the Maelstrom's interference is making precise location difficult. Best estimate puts the source about 6 hours deeper in, assuming we can maintain our current speed." "Which we can't," Lieutenant Chen interrupted. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive gravimetric disturbance ahead. It's like someone took a black hole and shattered it into 1,000 pieces, each one pulling in a different direction." The tactical display confirmed his assessment. The Maelstrom had earned its name. Ahead of them, space churned with competing gravitational forces, radiation storms, and phenomena that their sensors couldn't even categorize. No wonder the advanced species of the galaxy avoided this region. By any rational assessment, pressing forward would be suicide. Captain Rivera stood from her command chair, moving to study the tactical display more closely. "Options. We could try to plot a course around the worst of it," Sarah suggested, though her tone made it clear she didn't believe in that option. "Add maybe 20 hours to our journey time. But whoever's sending that signal has already waited a millennium," Rivera finished. "They might not have another 20 hours. She turned to Lieutenant Chen. "James, if we push the quantum stabilizers to maximum and rerouted power from non-essential systems, how long could we maintain structural integrity through the heart of that disturbance?" "Maybe 30 minutes, he replied after a moment's calculation. "After that, the strain on the hull would exceed design tolerances. We'd start losing integrity. The signal source is approximately 45 minutes through the worst of the disturbance," Sarah added quietly. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. They had come further than any ship in recorded history, pushing the boundaries of what even humanity's advanced rescue vessels could withstand. Now they faced a choice: turn back and admit defeat, or push forward knowing their ship might not survive the attempt. Captain Rivera returned to her command chair. All hands, this is the captain speaking. We're about to attempt something unprecedented. The math says it's impossible. The experts say it's suicidal. In other words, it's exactly the kind of situation Earth's rescue services were built for. She paused, allowing a small smile. I won't lie to you. We might not survive this. But right now, we're the only hope for whoever is sending that signal. They've waited 1,000 years for someone crazy enough to come for them. I say we don't make them wait any longer. All sections, prepare for maximum stress conditions. The crew's response was immediate, each person moving with renewed purpose. This was why they had volunteered for Earth's rescue services, not because they were fearless, but because they believed that no one should be abandoned, just because saving them would be difficult. Diverting all available power to quantum stabilizers, Lieutenant Chen announced. Hull integrity fields at maximum. We'll hold together, Captain. She's a tough ship. Sarah's hands flew across her console, refining their sensor data, plotting the most direct course through the gravitational disturbance. If we time our approach just right, we might be able to use some of the competing forces to our advantage. Like riding ocean waves, Rivera mused, remembering her early days in sea rescue operations. The principles don't change just because we're in space. Lieutenant Chen, prepared to execute Emergency Integrity Protocol Alpha. Sarah, as soon as you have a course plotted, transfer it to helm. The Prometheus surged forward, its experimental hull gleaming as it approached the heart of the Maelstrom. Warning indicators screamed across every console as the ship encountered forces it was never designed to withstand. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, each person knowing that a single mistake could mean their destruction. Through the viewport, reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Streams of particles that defied classification whipped past the ship, while gravitational forces threatened to tear them apart. The Prometheus's hull creaked and groaned, the metamaterials struggling to adapt to conditions that shouldn't have been possible. Hull stress at 92%. Lieutenant Chen called out above the sound of straining metal. Quantum stabilizers operating beyond safety limits. 25 minutes until critical failure. Captain Rivera's voice remained calm. Stay on course. Sarah, how long until we reach the signal source? 35 minutes at current speed, Sarah replied, her eyes never leaving her displays. Wait, Captain, I'm detecting something new. The signal. It's changing. Before she could elaborate, a massive gravitational wave slammed into the ship. Warning klaxons blared as multiple systems approached failure. The Prometheus had reached the point of no return. They would either find a way through the heart of the Maelstrom, or they would join the countless other ships that had underestimated its deadly power. But humanity had never been good at accepting no-win scenarios. As the ship pushed deeper into the impossible storm, its crew prepared to do what humans did best: achieve the impossible through sheer determination and refusal to give up. The Prometheus's bridge had become eerily quiet, broken only by the constant groaning of the hull and the steady stream of status reports from engineering. They were now 30 minutes into what should have been an impossible journey through the heart of the Maelstrom, and Lieutenant Chen's warnings about hull integrity had grown increasingly urgent. New signal detected. Sarah's announcement cut through the tension. It's incredible. The original distress beacon was just a carrier wave. Now that we're closer, I'm picking up massive data streams. These transmission protocols, they're beyond anything in our databases. Captain Rivera leaned forward in her command chair. Can you decode any of it? Working on it. The basic structure seems similar to... Sarah's voice trailed off as her console erupted with new information. Captain, I'm getting visual data. Putting it on main display. The bridge viewport shifted, overlaying the chaos of the Maelstrom with a flickering image that caused several crew members to gasp. They were looking at what appeared to be a massive structure, easily the size of Earth's largest space stations, but its architecture defied conventional physics. Crystalline spires twisted in ways that seemed to bend space itself, while massive energy collectors pulsed with an otherworldly light. Life signs. Rivera demanded. Lieutenant Chen's hands flew across his engineering console. Hundreds, no, thousands of them. But they're unlike anything we've ever encountered. Their energy signatures are. They're part of the structure somehow. A new alarm blared across the bridge. Hull breach on Deck C, Chen reported. Quantum stabilizers failing. We've got maybe 10 minutes before total structural failure. The structure is generating some kind of field, Sarah interrupted, her voice tight with excitement. It's creating a bubble of stable space around itself. That's how it's survived in here for so long. Captain, if we could get inside that field. Rivera didn't hesitate. Helm, plot an approach vector. Engineering, divert everything we've got left to the forward shields. We're going to make a run for it. The Prometheus turned gracefully despite the forces tearing at it, aligning itself with the massive alien structure. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors began picking up more details. The structure wasn't simply surviving in the Maelstrom. It was using the chaos around it as a power source, drawing in the impossible energies and converting them into something usable. Incoming transmission, Sarah announced. They're trying to match our communication protocols. Audio only. Put it through, Rivera ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language that seemed to shift and change even as they listened, as if the translation was happening in real time. Unknown vessel, you have achieved what we believed impossible. For 1,000 years, we have waited for a species capable of reaching us. Welcome to the Nexus of Contemplation. This is Captain Maya Rivera of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We're responding to your distress signal. How can we help? There was a pause, filled only by the sound of the ship's straining hull. When the voice returned, it carried a note of what might have been amusement. Help. Fascinating. You believed our signal was a call for rescue. Isn't it? Sarah asked, unable to contain herself. You've been broadcasting for a millennium. We have been waiting, yes, but not for rescue. We are the architects, and this is our greatest creation, a place where the fundamental forces of reality can be studied and manipulated. We chose the heart of this disturbance precisely because only a species of sufficient determination and technological achievement could reach us. The implications of this revelation were interrupted by another warning klaxon. Captain, Lieutenant Chen called out, we've got multiple hull breaches now. 4 minutes until catastrophic failure. The alien voice continued, seemingly unconcerned. Your vessel's design is remarkable, though primitive by our standards. You achieved what you believed impossible through sheer force of will and determination. This is exactly what we have been waiting for. I don't mean to be rude, Rivera replied, her voice tight. But unless we get inside your station's protective field in the next 3 minutes, this first contact is going to be very short. Ah, of course. Your species' directness is refreshing. Extending containment field now. Please follow the guidance beacon to docking port 7. And Captain, thank you for proving our theory correct. Sometimes the most advanced solution is not the most elegant, but rather the one driven by sheer determination to succeed. As the Prometheus limped into the station's protective bubble, the crew felt the difference immediately. The horrible strains on the hull ceased, replaced by a gentle humming that seemed to resonate with the structure itself. Through the viewport, they could see the Maelstrom continuing its chaos, but it was now held at bay by forces they couldn't begin to understand. Hull stress decreasing, Chen reported, relief evident in his voice. The station's field is actually helping our metamaterials repair themselves. These readings, this technology is incredible. Sarah's console continued to flood with data. Captain, they're sending us information about their civilization. The architects, they're not just another advanced species. They're the ones who seeded our galaxy with the elements necessary for life. They'd been waiting for a species to evolve that had both the technological capability and the sheer determination to reach them. Captain Rivera stood, straightening her uniform. Well then, let's not keep them waiting any longer. Prepare for docking procedures. We came here expecting to perform a rescue mission. Instead, we might have just made first contact with the precursors of all galactic civilization, because we were too stubborn to accept impossible odds. As the Prometheus maneuvered toward its designated docking port, the crew couldn't help but appreciate the irony. They had indeed completed a rescue mission, just not the one they expected. They had rescued something perhaps even more valuable, knowledge that had been waiting a millennium for a species brave enough, or perhaps crazy enough, to come and claim it. The docking procedures with the Architect Station were unlike anything in Earth's experience. As the Prometheus connected with the ancient structure, the crew felt a subtle shift, as if reality itself was adjusting around them. Through the viewports, the chaos of the Maelstrom continued its deadly dance, but it now seemed distant, held at bay by forces that defied human understanding. Environmental analysis complete. Lieutenant Chen reported from his engineering station. The station's atmosphere is compatible with human life, though the gravity is slightly lower than Earth standard. Their technology appears to be adapting to accommodate us. Sarah Chen stood before the main docking portal, her handheld scanner displaying readings that made her question everything she thought she knew about physics. These energy signatures, they're not just controlling the environment, they're actively manipulating the fundamental forces of reality. Captain Rivera addressed the assembled first contact team. Remember, we're here as representatives of humanity. Our mission parameters may have changed, but our core principles haven't. We're still Earth's rescue services. We help where we can, how we can. The docking portal arised open with a soft chime, revealing a corridor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid crystal. Standing before them was what could only be described as an architect, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix that pulsed with internal light. Welcome to the Nexus of contemplation. The being's thoughts manifested directly in their minds, accompanied by a sense of ancient wisdom and, surprisingly, genuine warmth. I am Observer Infinity 7, designated First Contact Specialist. Your arrival was predicted, though the exact species that would achieve it remained uncertain until now. Rivera stepped forward. We're honored to be here, though I admit we're a bit confused. You mentioned waiting for a species with sufficient determination and technological achievement, but our technology is clearly primitive compared to yours. Ah, Infinity 7's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been amusement. You assume we were testing your technological prowess. No, Captain. We were testing something far more rare and valuable, your species' unique combination of traits that we have termed the human factor. The observer gestured, and the corridor walls became transparent, revealing the vast interior of the station. Thousands of architects moved through impossible spaces, conducting research that seemed to bend reality itself. We have spent millennia perfecting our technology, learning to manipulate the fundamental forces of existence. But in doing so, we lost something precious, something your species possesses in abundance. And what's that? Sarah asked, her scientific curiosity overriding protocol. The ability to defy logic in pursuit of a worthy goal. The determination to continue when all rational analysis suggests retreat. The remarkable human capacity to face the impossible and simply refuse to accept it. Infinity 7's form pulsed with intensity. We created this station in the heart of the Maelstrom not because we needed to study it, but because we needed to find a species that would attempt the impossible to reach us. Lieutenant Chen frowned at his readings. But why? Your technology is centuries beyond ours. What could you possibly need from us? The observer's response carried a note of what might have been sadness. Because we have reached the limits of pure logic and rational advancement. The next great leap in understanding requires something we no longer possess, the ability to imagine the impossible and then stubbornly pursue it until it becomes possible. As if to emphasize the point, a massive viewport appeared before them, showing the Prometheus nestled against the station. The ship's hull still bore the scars of its journey, its primitive but effective design a stark contrast to the station's ethereal architecture. Your vessel's approach to surviving the Maelstrom was inelegant by our standards. Brute force application of metamaterials, quantum stabilizers pushed beyond their design limits, and a command decision to continue despite clear evidence of imminent destruction. It was, by any rational assessment, madness. Infinity Seven's form brightened, and it worked perfectly. Rivera understood. Because we didn't try to solve the problem elegantly. We just refused to accept failure as an option. Precisely. Your species' greatest strength is not your technology, but your remarkable ability to achieve the impossible through sheer determination and creative improvisation. We believe this trait, combined with our technology, may be the key to the next stage of universal understanding. Sarah's scanner beeped with new readings. The station. It's not just studying the Maelstrom, is it? You're trying to understand something even more fundamental. The nature of reality itself, Infinity 7 confirmed. We have reached the boundaries of what pure logic can explain. We need a perspective unbound by such limitations. We need the human factor. The implications were staggering. One of the most advanced species in existence had spent a millennium waiting for someone crazy enough to reach them, not because they needed rescue, but because they needed humanity's unique approach to the impossible. So, Rivera said with a slight smile, when do we start? 3 months after the Prometheus's historic journey through the Maelstrom, the Galactic Council chambers were in an uproar. Representatives from 100 advanced civilizations argued over the implications of what humanity had discovered and what it meant for the future of the galaxy. Sarah Chen stood before them, still adjusting to her new role as humanity's chief liaison to the architects. Behind her, a holographic display showed the Prometheus's journey through the Maelstrom, followed by images of the remarkable developments that had followed. As you can see, she concluded her presentation, the combination of architect technology with human perspective has already yielded extraordinary results. The first stable micro-universes have been created within the Nexus, allowing us to study the fundamental laws of reality in ways previously thought impossible. Because you ignored those laws entirely. The Zixith representative's crystalline form vibrated with agitation. Your species continues to demonstrate a disturbing disregard for established scientific principles. Captain Rivera, now Admiral Rivera, stepped forward. With respect, Representative, that's exactly why the architects chose us. They needed a species that would question those principles, and then find ways to transcend them. Observer Infinity 7 materialized in the chamber, causing a ripple of murmurs. It was rare for an architect to appear before the council. The Admiral speaks truth. For too long, we advanced species have been bound by our own knowledge. We became so focused on elegant solutions that we forgot the value of simple determination. The chamber's displays shifted, showing scenes from the past 3 months. Human researchers working alongside architects, bringing their unique perspective to problems that had stumped the ancient species for millennia. The human factor, that peculiar combination of creativity, determination, and willingness to defy conventional wisdom, had proven to be exactly what the architects needed. The Prometheus protocol has already been successfully replicated, Sarah reported, bringing up new data. 3 more Earth ships have now reached the Nexus, each testing different approaches to surviving the Maelstrom. Every impossible journey teaches us more about the nature of space-time itself, and the cost. The Zixith representative demanded, how many ships and crews will be lost in these reckless experiments? None, Rivera answered firmly, because that's the other thing humanity brought to this partnership. Our experience in rescue operations. Every new ship carries improvements based on what we learned. We're not just rushing in blindly. We're making the impossible slowly become routine. Infinity 7's form pulsed with approval. This is why we waited so long. We needed a species that combined the determination to attempt the impossible with the wisdom to learn from each attempt. Humanity's greatest strength is not just their willingness to face the impossible, but their drive to make it accessible to others. The displays showed new images, the first prototype of a hybrid vessel, combining architect technology with human design principles. It wasn't elegant by advanced species standards, but it would be able to safely navigate the Maelstrom, opening up vast new regions of space for exploration and study. "We stand at a crossroads," Sarah addressed the council. "The architects have shown us that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than we imagined. But understanding it requires more than advanced technology. It requires the courage to venture into the unknown, and the determination to find a way through." "And when you fail?" another representative asked. "When you encounter truly impossible barriers?" Admiral Rivera smiled. "Then we'll do what humanity has always done. We'll try again, try differently, and keep trying until we succeed." The architects showed us that the impossible is just a challenge we haven't solved yet. The council chamber erupted in debate again, but there was a different tone now. The older species were beginning to understand what the architects had seen in humanity. Their primitive determination, their reckless courage, their illogical refusal to accept impossibility. These weren't flaws to be corrected, but vital traits that the galaxy desperately needed. In the months and years that followed, humanity's influence spread far beyond the Maelstrom. The combination of human determination and architect technology led to breakthroughs that transformed understanding of the universe itself. Other species began to adopt what they called human pattern problem solving, the radical notion that impossible was simply a starting point for finding new solutions. And at the heart of it all, the Prometheus remained docked at the Nexus of contemplation, its scared hull a testament to the day humanity proved that the impossible was just a matter of perspective. The ship had set out to perform a rescue mission, and in a way, it had succeeded beyond all expectations. It had rescued something precious that the advanced species had lost, hope that the impossible could be overcome through sheer determination and the courage to try. As Sarah Chen often remarked in her lectures to new human architect research teams, the universe isn't limited by what we think is possible. It's only limited by what we're willing to attempt. It was a lesson humanity had always known, and one they were finally teaching to the stars themselves.